Hi everyone, it's Dr. Elaine Thompson Buchanan. The purpose of this video is to walk through how to do an exegesis paper for a larger biblical theology paper or for a final biblical theology paper. So let's go ahead and get started. Anytime you see anything that is bolded and underlined at the same time, that is going to shift and change depending on the length of the biblical theology paper, the school that you're at, all different kinds of things. So make sure that when you're actually looking at the assignment itself, that you are aware of what actually goes in these particular blanks. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll get started from the beginning and we'll just walk all the way through the instructions for exegetical papers. So first of all, it's really important to make sure that your topic, your research question, and your passages have been approved before beginning the exegetical papers. These exegetical papers will be done based on their chronological order. So the first exegetical paper will be the first time that that topic or research question is addressed in Scripture. The second one will be the second time, and the third one will be the third time. And if you have more than that, then it goes chronologically on and on from there. So students must write a, however long it's supposed to be, exegetical paper. This exegetical paper will focus only on the socio-historical, rhetorical, linguistic, literary context, and genre of each of their chosen passages. And remember, each passage will have its own exegetical paper. So the word count includes the content and the footnotes. It does not include the title page, the contents page if you have one, and the bibliography. There will be a required number of academic resources that need to be used, and they need to be published within the last 25 years. If there's a specific date range outside of that 25 years, that will be listed there. The papers need to be written with Times New Roman 12-point font. The margins need to be 1 inch all the way around. They also should be double spaced, and Turabian style should be used for all papers. Quotations. They can be used for up to a certain percentage of the paper, which is going to be a certain length per page. Please make sure that you look at your specific instructions for this. It's very important. So papers that have under a specific length or over a specific length will be docked 1 point per however long the paper is under or over as far as the word count is concerned. Now, when it comes to doing research for each of the exegetical papers, this is what you'll need to do. You'll need to take a look at and research the socio-historical context. So you're going to want to look at what was going on historically, politically, and socially in the lives of the author, the people in the passage, and the original audience. When it comes to the literary and exegetical context, you're going to need to research the literary genre of your passage. And then you're also going to need to clearly identify and summarize 3 to 7 verses before the main passage in 1 to 2 sentences, and then clearly identify and summarize 3 to 7 verses after the main passage in 1 to 2 sentences. When it comes to rhetorical and linguistic features, what, if any, rhetorical or linguistic features can be found in the main passage? How do they influence the purpose and the meaning of the passage? Also, for word studies, are there any words that are repeated in the passage or that you think need further clarification? If so, what do those words mean in this context? Now, at this level, it is important to steer clear of concordances. And the reason for that is because concordances focus on the broad meaning of a particular word over a wide variety of passages. When you're looking at a particular context for the word studies, it's actually better to take a look at technical commentaries that address the original Hebrew or the Greek within that particular passage. And that's because those particular commentaries will help with explaining what a passage meant within its particular context. Okay, so then also it's important to take a look at commentaries, academic articles, Bible backgrounds, atlases, all different kinds of things. And again, you'll need to remember that there will be a minimum number of academic resources that need to be published, and the date range for those academic resources will also be included on the specific instructions for your assignment. Each academic resource will need to be footnoted at least once within the exegetical paper. So that means it's going to be very pointed, it's going to be very specific, and really you're going to have to get to the point right away for the most part for these exegetical papers. So this is all the research here. This is not the actual writing of the exegesis paper when it comes time to write. So this is all the research and the prep for writing right there. When it comes time to write the exegetical paper, you'll have an introduction. The introduction to an exegetical paper is meant to basically explain how you're going to get from the beginning of the paper to the end of the paper without using first and second person pronouns. So in other words, you're introducing the passage. That's what's happening there. In the background section, you're going to, and notice that each of these has a length on there. You'll need to check the particular instructions for this assignment to see how long these are. Normally for biblical theology papers, the exegesis is very, very short. It is concise, it is pointed, it is detailed, all of those different things. So anyway, you'll have your introduction, you'll have your background, which focuses on the socio-historical context, which is actually number 1. There we go. Number 1 up here. And then you'll also need to focus on the any insights that you find from commentaries and academic articles. So the socio-historical context, and then anything that you find from commentaries and articles, which is number 5. For the exegetical context, there will be a specific length. And you'll need to focus on the genre of the passage and literary context, and include any explanation of rhetorical or linguistic features and any words that need further clarification, and then any insights from commentaries or academic articles. So numbers 2 through 5 are included there. What did the passage mean to the original audience? Okay, so all we're doing here is focusing on numbers 1 through 4. All we're doing here is focusing on understanding what the passage meant within its context. We're not even addressing biblical theology yet. Okay, so the original meaning, the original audience, that needs to be addressed. So what did it mean to them? Notice again that we're still talking about them. We're not talking about you and me or us. And that's because biblical theology isn't really interested in us. The implications of what we do will have a lot of ramifications for us, but it's really focused on them. When it comes to the conclusion, this is where we address the approved biblical theology question. Okay. So in the conclusion, there needs to be a pointed, clear, concise, specific, detailed answer to your biblical theology question, only within the context of this particular passage. So we're not pulling from other passages in Scripture. We're not pulling from anything else. We're trying to answer the biblical theology question from this particular passage and this alone. And so that is essentially what you need to do for exegesis papers that will serve as a foundation for biblical theology papers.